Dark Souls 3 review roundup. Yeehaw!
Pew, 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 pew. First up, we go to Gamespot, which gave it an 8 out of 10. That's actually low on average. The good: expert level design, thrilling combat, creative challenging bosses, beautiful settings with ample secrets. The bad: redundant late game bosses and areas, inconsistent camera and lock-on. The reviewer writes, there are a few stumbles along the way, but in the end, Dark Souls 3 is well worth the riveting climb. They also say this is the essence of Dark Souls 3. Periods of doubt, followed by great reward. The journey may be rocky, but there's a throne waiting at the end. Obviously, they mean a toilet. IGN's Chloe Rad gives it a 9.5 out of 10, calling it amazing. The positives: rewarding challenge, excellent exploration, weapon arts, and rich lore. I knew a guy named Rich Lore, the guy was a real dick. Negatives: frame rate dips. They're definitely not the only one to mention that. Chloe writes, it's a fierce and punishing behemoth that dares you to take a step forward before knocking you back again and again and again. They also go on to say, every level is not only full of breathtaking architectural marvels and the most minute environmental embellishments, but also dense with things to do and see from moment to moment. Finally, they say, while not all the risky changes land as neatly as others, Dark Souls 3 is a powerful journey and the sequel the series truly deserves. Over at Game Informer, Daniel Tack gives it gold. Not bad, with a 9.25 out of 10, calling it familiar but fascinating fantasy. He writes, can From Software do it again? The answer is yes. From Software and Hidetaka Miyazaki have created yet another masterful and challenging action RPG experience. He also writes, discovering something small that leads to something so huge later on feels great, and you become addicted to this meticulous curiosity reward loop. Forbes' Eric Kane says it's a triumphant return to form, giving it a 10 out of 10. Impressive. He says, whereas Dark Souls 2 left much to be desired, Dark Souls 3 feels very much like coming home. And what a brutal homecoming it is. Man, I know that feeling. He also states, it is the best looking Souls game, hands down. High five for everybody. Across the pond, our friends at Eurogamer, Rich Stanton says the third time's the charm, calling the game essential. He says rooms are piled with the corpses of demons. Former citizens are now so feral they move on all fours, and intricate corridors crisscross each other with countless dead ends and hidden routes. Hey, that sounds like my idea of a good time, am I right? Dark Souls 3 is a fabulous game and a fitting conclusion to the greatest trilogy of modern times. Obviously, he hasn't heard of Police Academy 1 through 3, but we can forgive that mistake. Over at the Telegraph, ooh, fancy, Siam Ahmed gives it 5 stars. That's out of 5. He writes, from the start, Dark Souls 3 is all about lulling you into a false sense of security. Boy, if that doesn't sound appealing, I don't know what does. He also writes, whereas Dark Souls 2 felt like a step off the beaten track in terms of design, Dark Souls 3 ties all the iconic conventions that the series is known for in grand fashion, even if it all feels rather familiar. Thanks for weighing in, The Telegraph. Nerdist's Samantha Sofka says Dark Souls 3 burns bright. She gives the game a 4.5 out of 5 blazing hot burritos.
Burritos, my favorite food group.
She writes, similar to the previous titles, it doesn't hold your hand and successfully uses death as a learning experience. I learned about death when my goldfish died after my grandpa had a heart attack and knocked over the bowl. Had to go to 2 funerals that weekend. She goes on, the level design is neither as complex as Dark Souls, nor as linear and disconnected as Dark Souls 2, but finds a happy medium somewhere in between. Hey, I'll take it. Finally, she concludes, Dark Souls 3 is both the best game in the series and the perfect conclusion, I'll say.
On Steam, the game has a mostly positive, although some users expressed frustration at being unjustly banned from online play due to an anti-cheat system that seems to register a lot of false positives. And a quick scroll of the Metacritic score shows a lot of 100s, plenty of 90s, tons of 80s, and a couple of naysayers in the 70s. Apparently not everybody was sold on the concept. I love humor. Here at Suck Professor, we give the game a solid 96 out of 100. We agree with all the positives. It's beautiful, it's challenging, it's fun, it's dark, it's full of souls, but the frame rate issues, lazy PC port, non-working ultra-wide resolutions, but mostly we dock a few points because the inventory system is clunky and frustrating. Although you do get used to it, so most of the annoyance is in the first phase of the game. That's it for this review roundup. Pew pew pew. Let us know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to help us out. And as we say here at Suck Professor, bye.